Thank you for your introduction, Kevin. Hi, everybody. My name is Borong, and today I'm going to give a step-by-step tutorial of how to prepare a successful Beamtime proposal. Well, this is successful. Okay. Okay, so a little bit of myself. Fun facts about myself: I work in 3 different synchronous rings throughout my life so far. I come from Taiwan, and I used to work here. We have 2 rings, and later on, from 2001, I go to Chicago to pursue my PhD degree, and I work in Oregon for a bit, for 5 years. And then now I'm working here in SSRL, which also means that I have submitted a lot of Beamtime proposals. So what is a Beamtime proposal? A Beamtime proposal basically reads that I have this awesome science project. Would you give me some time? Because a beamline facility is running 24/7 throughout every day. And so we're going to share with the users coming from not only US, but also throughout the world to compete for the beamtimes. So it's basically a request for scheduling a synchronous facility to do your experiments, which is a very short proposal in SSRL. It's 3 pages describing what is the goal of the experiment and why is it worth of doing, what's the value behind it, and what methods and beamline are you going to use, how much time is needed. A Beamtime proposal has a 2 years of lifetime, which means that once the proposal is accepted, you have 6 run seasons to finish your experiments. So in SSRL, the synchronous run seasons is divided by 3 seasons. Throughout a year, it's October to January, February to April, and May to July. And you may notice that there are some blanks of time that is not listed here. That's SSRL shut down for maintenance of our equipment. Okay, so from now on, I'm going to go walk you step by step of how to, the steps of writing a Beamtime proposal and how to begin a Beamtime application. So I'm going to use my personal experience for example. This is a project that I just finished throughout the last year. So I want to study the formation of manganese oxide in real time by using X-ray scattering. So if I have this idea in my mind, I want to do this in a synchrotron radiation center. I go to a beamline map, which in SSRL looks like this, showing like all the available beamlines in the ring. So you can see that there are pretty much a lot of lines in which beamlines we have a lot of different techniques, including scattering and spectroscopy. And you can find this beamline map in this website. So in order to choose the suitable beamline for experiments, I'm going to focus on scattering beamlines. Then I find, for example, experimental station 11.3. So I click in the label of 11.3, and there is a full chart describing the basics of this beamline, including the technique that is suitable for doing like X-ray diffraction and scattering, wide-angle scattering, or grazing incident scattering. And the instrumentation basics, for example, like detectors that just we briefly discussed in the morning, and also some of the sample environments and compatible in situ cells that Doc just described, and also the data acquisition analysis techniques. So in your doing research and choosing your Beamtime wisely, you're definitely going to go through all of these 4 points that's most important, like the technique you want to use, is this compatible to what you're going to study, and also the X-ray energy range. If you're doing X-ray spectroscopy, this is especially very important because you don't want to use like low energy to watch your high energy edge steps, and also the detectors and the resolution power. So if you have any questions of if a beamline is compatible for your study, you probably want to ask the beamline scientists for details because the beamline scientists are the most familiar with these beamline details. And the beamline contact can also be found out in this table. So once you have the idea formulated, you would like to submit a beamline proposal. So the first step is that you have to register to become an SSRL user. And you go to this web page to register. And bear in mind that the new proposal submission, we have some due dates. That's May 1st, August 1st, and November 1st. And for now on, I'm going to talk about the elements of a proposal. The proposal is telling SSRL why you need to come here for experiments. And there are certain formats that you probably want to follow. So the first of all, you want to tell us about the background and significance of your study. What's so important and why should people care about your experiment? And the second one is that you probably have some specific aims, like what questions are you trying to answer in your study? And then what kind of experiments are you planned? What technique to use? What sample to measure? This is also very important to know. And data interpretation methods. How are you going to analyze the data? Do you have previous experience or you have collaborators along with the proposal that knows how to analyze the data? And then the most important point is why you need synchrotron radiation and SSRL for your study. So for example, if your measurement is capable of doing, is able to be done in Stanford X-ray Center in an in-house instrument, you probably don't need SSRL. So give us a good reason why to use our beamline and how much of time is needed. So here, let me give you an example of a Beamtime proposal I just recently wrote. So in STEM SSRL, it's limited to 3 pages, but limited to 3 pages, not including the references. So you can have as much as reference you want. And so in a Beamtime proposal, you have the title, and you're going to list all of your collaborators. First of all, give your backgrounds and significance. And in here, I specifically write that we are going to develop a systematic and high throughput approach to effectively evaluate the kinetic accessibility of material on a large scale, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to tell the reviewers that our approach is a combination of computational modeling and in situ X-ray characterization. So I justify why I'm doing these experiments. And personally, I will highlight the thing that we are proposing. We propose to use this manganese oxide system to establish a characterization method to identify intermediate phases. So this is my goal of the study. I highlighted it. And in the next section is my specific aims. And in this session, I highly suggested that you use bullet points to let the reviewers know like what you're trying to do. People like bullet points a lot. And then plan experiments. So in this proposal, I'm going to use a capillary heating system as my in situ cell. So in here, I'm also saying that, this capillary heater was also built in other synchrotron facilities and has already got successful results. I'm trying to use this as the evidence of saying that, hey, my proposal is likely to be successful. And then I'm telling very clearly what kind of experiments are we going to do, like in hydrothermal reaction, so it's a liquid reaction at 160 degrees C, and it's going to hold for 24 hours. And the technique I'm going to use is in situ wide-angle X-ray scattering. And here I'm also going to use some of the images to describe the experimental conditions that I'm trying to focus. And I give like steps throughout the 2 years lifetime, what I'm going to planning to do in my first few Beamtimes and what I'm going to do in the later on, in the next year. And if you have a proposed in situ cell, you can also propose your instrument here. Then I have some preliminary data that I took elsewhere, and I can show it on my beamline proposal saying that I have do some things beforehand. So what I'm going to do is very similar to this. And definitely, I'm going to describe the need for synchrotron radiation at SSRL. I'm saying that a high flux beam is needed to catch any scattering instance, to catch any intermediate phases that might be low concentration. And also, I want to do quick captures of the X-ray scattering profile because some of the intermediate phases might be like very transient. And I also want to do X-ray scattering. I'm also going to do some of the X-ray absorption spectroscopy. So I need a tunable X-ray source that's only capable of doing in synchrotron radiation centers. And notice that in SSRL, a proposal can be used to apply different techniques and different beamlines. And here I'm going to references. So this is the elements of a proposal. And then the next step I'm going to talk about is like how to make your proposal more appealing. So first of all, you want to be clear in explaining your goals and plans and be focused and don't talk too much about in one proposal. For example, when I say that in SSRL proposal, you will be able to apply for different techniques at different beamlines, but you probably don't want to include like 10 beamlines in one proposal. That's going to confuse the reviewers. And so for example, I put in like only 3 beamlines throughout my proposal. And very importantly, communicate with beamline scientists before sending a proposal because they might have a better idea of how feasible is your experiment at their beamlines. So you don't want to send in a proposal that doesn't fit in the capability of the beamline you're describing in the proposal. That's not going to work. And provide evidence that supports the feasibility of experiments. So in the manganese oxide example I just showed, I provide previous experimental results as well as published literature that supports the feasibility of my experiment. And also, I request reasonable amount of time. This is also very important because when you are sending the proposal, you probably don't want to say like, I want 1 month in a beam time. I want 1 month of beam time. That's apparently too much, and nobody's going to believe that you are going to use every minute of 1 month beam time. Because remember, some of the beamlines are really competitive. So, bearing in mind, so keep in mind, communicate with the beamline scientists of how much beam time is usually granted in one visit, and also know your sample well. Like Kevin just said, the acquisition time of your sample is going to determine how much beam time is you actually needed. And identify potential publications. If you're thinking like your proposal is going to lead you some of potential publications or it's a continuation for the previous publication, you can list them on the proposal saying that I'm in a good standing point of continuously doing this experiment. And you can tell us if you have any previous synchrotron radiation experience, because if you're not a first-time user, you can you'll be in a better point of familiarize with yourself in SSRL and increase the rate of increase the rate of being successfully doing the experiment here. All right, and next thing is now that you submit a proposal into our system, and then there will be reviewers, 3 to 5 external reviewers is going to read through your proposal and give you scores. And the reviewers are going to give your proposal a score between 1 to 5. And one thing that is very interesting one thing that's very special about SSRL proposal is that the reviewers is going to give you some comments, and you have one chance to respond the reviewers' comments, because the reviewers are usually going to ask some of the details you might miss in your original proposal. Like they might be asking you like, why are you going to use this technique? Or what is the precursor? What is chemicals that you're using? And some of the details like this. And based on your response, they are going to give you a proposal to score between 1 to 5. 1 is the best proposal, and it will be given the highest priority. So you're most likely to get Beamtime, and 5 is really poor. They're thinking like, oops, your proposal is not really important to do it at a synchrotron facility center. And generally speaking, like score smaller than 1.5 is most likely to receive time for generally for all of the beamlines. And the reviewers' comments is actually very helpful. They may help you find out blind spot in your proposal. They're helping you to make your proposal better and more successful. So, saying that, congratulations, your Beamtime is approved. How to request the Beamtime? Still, you are going to go back to the SSRL Beamtime request system, and the Beamtime request due dates. If you're going to do experiment in October to January run, you're going to submit it at August 8th. For February to April run, the due date is November 1st. The May to July run, the due date is February 1st. So it's really like planning ahead of the Beamtime. And in this time, if you have a complex, so for example, you're going to a wedding, it's okay. Just be sure to fill in the blackout dates in the request. And once you fill the blackout dates, we are not going to put you in those dates. And for in situ experiments, because the setup is usually taking an extra day, so it's more advantageous to request time after a shutdown date, so that you have plenty of time to prepare for your Beamtime without losing any actual runtime. So this is the Beamtime request, how the Beamtime request look like. So this is my proposal. It has a proposal number, and it's going to indicate your expiration days. So I'm okay to submit Beamtime request until 2019, June 30th. And this is the shipped, the total Beamtime that request on the proposal. And this is the time you have already used. So in this example, you can see that I have already submitted a bunch of Beamtimes at different beamlines. And once your Beamtime is scheduled, have fun coming here and doing the experiment. Remember to check in the allocated Beamtime schedule posted online. You probably want to go to here. It's a Beamline schedule that listed the weekly schedule of specific beamlines. For example, these blanks are the shifts here. A shift is an 8-hour unit that we usually to count usually to divide it throughout the day from the night shift, like daytime shift, and evening shift. And this is my name over here. So I have the time from the afternoon of October 23rd, 2017, throughout October 24, and all the way to October 25th in the morning. And then I switch with other users. And make sure your sample is in good condition, because there is like 1 or 2 months between your proposal and the actual Beamtime. So if your sample is degrading out of the waiting period, that's no good. So check your sample. And you want the sample to be like freshest before the Beamtime starts. And also prepare for sample shipping and you're traveling. So you don't want the Beamtime starts and you ended up with no samples. And I can tell you a personal experience. So when I was working in APS in Chicago, there is one morning I have Beamtime. I drove there for 40 minutes and figured out I forgot the sample. And that's just a 40-minute driving. So I was like, OK, that's my fault, and I accept it. But if you're flying out of like the other end of the world or here, you probably want to double check your sample shipping or like how are you going to transport your sample or your own flight tickets. And keep communicating with the beamline scientists about when to start your setting up because your previous user might not using the same setup as yourself. So just check out the time that the beamline scientist is able to help you to switch. And still communicate with them with sample shipping, etc. And heads up, beamline runs 24 hours a day. You may lose a lot of sleep because you don't want to lose any photons throughout your experiment. So sleep well before you come in here. And then the last thing is that the rapid access. So you might want to say, like, I only have like one sample. I want to check out if it's available, for, like if it's doable at certain beamlines. So trying out new ideas or conduct initial feasibility tests, you may submit the rapid access, which is rapid access proposal, which is a faster access that available throughout the beamline run season. It's one-time allocation that a small amount of beamtime, 1 to 5 shifts, that is the maximum to use. And it must include a very strong justification of why a rapid access is needed. And you can submit it at any time throughout the SSRL Beamtime proposal system. And if you would like to test something that is longer and you will be willing to wait for more time, you are able to submit a letter of intent that's available for 6 to 18 hours. And for these two kinds of rapid access, you may refer to our websites here. And that's pretty much of it. And I'd be very happy to take any questions. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to ask you questions. How many of you are going to submit the SSR proposal in the next season? Okay, that's not bad. How many of you have submitted a proposal elsewhere? Oh, that's good. That's good. So you guys have experience. Again, like if you have any questions, welcome to grab me afterwards. Or Kevin.